Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So coming to you today, and I'm gonna have a few of these videos pop up on the channel. And really what I'm focused on. So today I'm out at Hobbs Island shooting range, and I'm doing some velocity / pressure testing with my 30-06. This is a Mossberg 4x4. Go back, there's some videos on the channel about it. Go check out the 30-06 playlist for all that. And then but what I want to focus on with this particular cartridge, and also in 270 Winchester, is using Shooter's World 4350, so SW 4350 as the powder. And the reason for that, I've got a couple of pounds of it sitting at the house, and there's just really not a lot of good or just not a lot of load data for that powder and these two cartridges, 30-06 and 270 Winchester. So what I plan on doing, there's a little bit, but there's really not a lot of options in terms of bullets that they test and all of that. So I was reading the latest edition of Handloader magazine. Again, shout out to Zach over at Quest for the Perfect Load on the article write-up that he did on the what was it, the 338-06 Ackley improved. That's a beast of a cartridge. But so shout out to him on the article that he did. And then within that issue, they had a propellant. They do the propellant profiles, a write-up about a certain reloading powder, and this one was Shooter's World 4350. So there's also some additional information and data in that article as well, but there's just not a lot out there that I can find that's published, that's made readily available. So that's really I want to go through this process of maybe testing some charge weights, gathering some velocity data with whatever bullets I have on hand. And so that's kind of what led me down this path here. So today in the 30-06, I'm going to be doing, like I said, the velocity / pressure test with the Hornady 180 grain SST bullet, and also their 220 grain round nose bullet. So on the heavy side of the 30-06 bullet weight range. And then I'll go back, I'll load up, I've got some 165 grain Game Kings, I've got some Barnes bullets, some other stuff that I want to try as well. And so, yeah, that's kind of the genesis of this sort of, I guess, I don't want to call it a video series, but it's where these videos are coming from, right? Just trying to gather some data, put that information out there. Again, this is only the stuff that I'm loading in my rifle with my brass, blah, 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 all that garbage. So I will read off the charge weight that I went with, and then you guys will see the velocity as it comes across. Using the Magneto Sporter chronograph. I've been using this for quite a while now. I actually like it a lot. So, all right, let's get to shooting. The first one, it's going to be 53.3 grains, and this is with the. We'll start off with the 180 grain SST. .25-48. That's good. That seems to be maybe on the lower end of what the 30-06 is capable of with 180 grain bullets. So I'm happy with that, because I will mention that I had to just kind of come up with these charge weights. Again, there's no data out there available for this particular bullet powder combination, and so what I did was I used Hornady's. I went to Hornady's manual and looked at their 180 grain bullet powder charge list, and used the 4350 class of powders that they have listed, I use that as a point of reference because this falls into that same category, H4350, IMR 4350, Accurate 4350. It's 4350 class powder. However, it is the slowest burning class, or slowest burning 4350 powder, right, in the class. So that's kind of, I was just using that as a baseline of trying to establish a decent charge weight range. So, and I'm jumping in 3/10 increments here, which I was hoping wouldn't get me in too much trouble. Again, starting with unknown combinations, trying to work up, find pressure, you know, get decent velocities. And so hopefully, which thankfully I didn't start too high to begin with, doesn't seem like, so there were no pressure signs on that particular piece of brass. So next up, 53.6. But I am going to make a scope adjustment down because above my point of aim, I'm actually trying to shoot some groups with 270, so I'm getting a little too close to that. So all right, which I don't care about necessarily about the group size. I just really, I'm checking velocity and pressure at this point. So we're going, like I said, 53.6. $25.09. We're not going to take as long in between each shot either. I was basically trying to explain to you guys, you know, how I came up with the charge weights. And the purpose behind the test. Next up is 53.9. $25.74. Another thing I didn't mention, this is kind of what also piqued my interest a little bit on this as well, is we're using CCI number 34 primers, which is the military version of the large rifle primer, which is more of a Magnum style primer, plus got a harder cup. So that's so they designed it that way, so that way in a semi-auto, right, you don't accidentally set off that primer. Got a group of guys down on the pistol side, but other than that, I'm the only one on the rifle side. So that was another reason why I wanted to check out this powder. Is that might be the only large rifle primers you can find at the moment, right? Might be the only ones you can get your hands on. So using this as kind of a test case for, this is not the ideal situation, right? Maybe this isn't what you want to do, but maybe these are the only components you can get your hands on. Then yeah, just experimentation, purely that. So we're at 54.2. $25.77. Next up, 54.5. $25.81. So that's 3 charge weights in a row, where the spread on those are 7 feet per second. So for those of you that are into that kind of stuff, if you have this bullet powder combination, it's no speed demon by any means, but maybe that's an area that's worth exploring that can yield some decent, accuracy. And trust me, 180 grain bullet moving, 25, 75, that's gonna kill anything I'm ever gonna shoot at. So how to get the job done. Next up's 54.8. So 25.69. So now through 4 charge weights, we have a spread of 12 feet per second. So that's covering almost a full grain of powder. From 53.9 up to 54.8. And our spread is 12 on our velocity. Pressure still seems to be fine. No issues, no heavy bolt lift or anything like that. So next up, we're going to 55.1. There's a jump in velocity. 26.08. Should have written down what so the velocity range from the Hornady manual with the other 4350 powders. I didn't even think to do that, but once once I get done shooting these, so I've got 3 more to shoot. Once I do that, you know, we'll transition back to the house and go over the results and everything, and yeah, talk about it a little bit more. So, but since it doesn't take too long to shoot a test like this, I was just going to leave the camera on the whole time. So next up, 55.4. .30, another jump. Barrel is warm, but nothing too crazy. Let's knock out these last two. 55.7. .2635. And also, this gives us a good chance just to test out these CCI 34 primers in different rifles as well. Because if you'll go back and watch the 280 Remington series that I did for my dad, working up a load for him, it's a little single shot, a New England Firearms handy rifle single shot, and I had several misfires using the CCI 34 primers, and the firing pin was just not strong enough to set those off, so I actually had to pull some bullets. I had quite a few, I say quite a few, it was a handful of misfires on in that rifle using these primers. And so that gives me another opportunity to test these primers out, use them in a couple of other rifles that I have, see how they work, and so far no issues with them. So all right, last up's 56 grains. So there you go. I'm going to shoot the 220 grain. I'm going to switch back to my 270 now and shoot another round of test loads with that, and then I'll swap back over to this setup, shoot the 220 grain. So I won't turn the camera back on for that. We'll just go over all the results when we get back to the house, and that way I've got the manual, and I can include kind of the velocity range that they have listed with the 4350 class of powders. So y'all stay tuned. All right, so we're back at the house, and I'm just waiting, about to cook up the rest of this deer breakfast sausage. I'm gonna throw some biscuits in the oven and chow down on that stuff. So just get my pan nice and hot. Still got the grease from where I cooked this stuff the other day. That's how you do it right there. So let's go over this velocity data with Shooter's World 4350 and 30-06. Finish out this video, show you guys what we ended up with. You saw the 180 grain bullets as I was shooting them, so you actually got to see this portion here. After I finished the video, I went and looked at the Hornady load data, and for the highest velocity for the 4350 class of powders was 2650. So they had two, I think it was H4350 and maybe IMR 4350 listed. and they had 2600 for one for a max charge of, and that's the velocity that they listed. And then the other one for a max charge, it was 2650. So 2600, 2650. So you can tell we're right in the range. It looks like I guess pretty good in terms of a charge weight range. Could probably push this a little bit higher because probably not going to get this to focus right, but our primers are still round, no visible signs of pressure whatsoever, no heavy bolt lift, nothing. So could probably actually push this a little bit higher if I wanted to. You guys saw, you know, right in this range here from 53.9 up to 54.8, you know, there's only a 12 feet per second spread on that. So that might be an area worth looking at if you didn't really want to push it in terms of pressure and that type of thing. So, you know, that might be something worth looking at. Maybe I go back, load up a few rounds in that range, do some testing, and then also up here toward the higher end of what we tested, you know, we had 2630, 2635, 2622. So it kind of flattened back out again once we had that climb at 55.1, and then had another one at 55.4, and then after that it sort of flattened back out as well. So really happy with the 180 grain velocity data. No pressure issues, never ran into a problem, so that was great. And then it just kind of continued on with the 220 grain, the round nose. I went and looked, the Hornady data, I think they only had H4350 listed, and they got 2,400 feet per second with it. And so, again, started nice and low, came in under 2,200 feet per second. I started at 48.8 grains and then again jumped in 3/10, just to try to play it safe, make sure we didn't get ourselves into trouble, which we didn't. Started under 2,200 feet per second and ended at 51.5 grains for 2305. So same thing here, no pressure signs. The brass looks the same as it did with the 180s. So what I'll probably end up doing is actually going higher with the 220. I don't know. I might go higher with the 180 as well. I might just load up another. I may just go 5 additional rounds with each, and then that way we just continue on with the kind of with the pattern that we've got here. So the next one for the 180 would be, you know, 56.3, and just continue up that way in 3/10, but only do it for 5 more charges. And then same thing with the 220. Again, I'm not really trying to push this and shoot high pressure loads. I'm just wanting to see where do we start hitting pressure, what type of velocities can we expect with this bullet powder combination, since again, I just can't really find load data, a lot of load data for this setup. So that's it. That's where we're gonna leave it. Yeah, so next time I do this particular video type, then it'll be just a continuation of the 180, the 220, and then that way we can have some Hornady data with this particular powder on the heavy side of 30-06. And then also I'll try to get some Sierra 165 grain Game Kings loaded up, see what we can get velocity wise with that as well. So that's it. That's where we're gonna leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Y'all have a good one. We'll catch you next time.